All right, so we already got one great Clint Eastwood 4K. Can Warner Brothers deliver again with the Outlaw Josie Wales? Let's talk about it. Hey, what is going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Mid-Level Media. Today, I'm excited because I get to talk about more Clint Eastwood. I feel like I always say that I'm excited, though. Look, I just love physical media. I don't know what you guys want me to say. Today, we're talking about the Outlaw Josie Wales. So not only is this a new Clint Eastwood 4K starring Clint Eastwood and also directed by Clint Eastwood is this movie, but it's a Western as well. So that's like a double win. Look, a Clint Eastwood Western, when you get to experience that, that's like a heavenly, that's like a religious experience. Okay. When you get to watch a Clint Eastwood Western, I freaking love Clint Eastwood. The more stuff that I watch of his, not saying that this is one of his best of all time because it's not, but we're going to get into it. Every time I watch one of his movies, I just appreciate him so much more because this dude has been in so many movies. He's acted in so many films. He's also directed so many films. Like, it's incredible the amount of films that this guy has directed, because going back to some of his earlier stuff, like the Outlaw Josie Wales, I was like, oh, surely he didn't direct this. So looking back, he directed this as well. And Pale Rider, which we're getting ready to talk about, he also directed. And then I just watched a High Plains Drifter recently. He directed that one. So he directed, like, when it seems like when he started to, when he learned how to direct, he just wanted to direct himself. It felt like from the early 70s on to the 90s. And then, of course, he would do his own Oscar-worthy films and stuff in the 2000s. Sometimes he started them, sometimes he didn't. But anyway, we're already getting off track with this review, guys. I just want to say I appreciate Clint Eastwood so much. Every single time I watch one of his movies, I just appreciate him more. But yeah, before we get into it, guys, like the channel if you haven't already. Like the channel, like the video. That's what I want you to do. Subscribe to the channel. All right, that's what you do. And then comment down below, guys, what's your thoughts on the Outlaw Josie Wales? So I will say right now, you have two options to get this 4K because Warner Brothers, they give us options, unlike other studios. Disney with one steelbook that sells out like the first 2 weeks. You still got options to get this. You can get the slipcover for, I believe, I want to say it's $24.99, or it might be $23.99 currently. I'll have the prices down there. And there is a 4K steelbook still available as well. And the steelbook for this is like really nice. Like, this is a really, I almost want to like get the steelbook. I did get this one in from Warner Brothers, but I almost want to go ahead and get the steelbook as well because those steelbooks are so freaking beautiful, and Pale Rider as well. So yeah, really nice steelbook that I think is going for about $33.49 or $33.99, somewhere in that range. So you have two options to get this 4K. Now, getting into the movie itself, you have the character of Josie Wales. He is a Missouri farmer. He's a family man, and him and his family are just out there one day minding their own business. And the freaking Union Army, because it's during the Civil War, it's at the tail end of the Civil War, but the Union Army comes in and they burn his house down and they kill his wife and kid. So that's kind of messed up. So after that, Josie Wales doesn't know what to do with himself. He's discovered by the Confederate Army. He joins them to try to seek retribution on the Union Army. But then, of course, we're at the end of the war, and we all know what happens at the end of the Civil War. Of course, the Union Army wins and the Confederate Army loses. So they all start to surrender, but there's one man that will not surrender, and that is Josie Wales, who then becomes an outlaw. So he's on the run from the Union Army while he's also trying to seek justice and get revenge for the people that wronged him. So it is a really good story, and it's a really good setup. It's a simple setup because right from the beginning, you feel empathy for the character of Josie Wales, and you fully understand his motivations, which is kind of a departure for a lot of Clint Eastwood movies, especially at this time, because at this time in 1976, when this movie was made, he had just done High Plains Drifter. Of course, there's other Clint movies I haven't seen, so there may be something else in there as well. But High Plains Drifter and the Dollars trilogy, and he was kind of notoriously the anti-hero, the bad guy, but also the good guy in those movies. In this movie, I would say more or less like he's the good guy. He is seeking retribution for the horrendous act of the Union Army on him and his family. So it's easy to get on board with him and his journey and like what he's trying to do. So in this movie, I do find it interesting because Clint Eastwood, like he plays it largely the same as he would in all the other movies. Fistful. I mean, he just has like a certain way about him, like with his performance. Like he's still very grizzled and badass and just like the most dangerous man around, but he has a soft side to him. Like he's trying to protect the people around him. He's trying to protect the people that's helping him. Like he makes friends and he's trying to protect them, and they're trying to protect him as well, and they're working together. Like he's not the lone gunman in this movie. Like there are people that are trying to help him, and he's helping them as well along the way. So this one does feel a little bit different, and they do talk about that a little bit in the special features, how all of Clint's movies were kind of framed for him to be the anti-hero, because that was the whole thing with Clint. When he came into the Western genre, he kind of flipped everything on its head and really tried to show like the true nature of like what it was like to live in the old West, not the romanticized version of the 40s, 50s, and the 60s. So Clint came in, he wanted a more like realistic, gritty approach to how he portrayed the Western genre. Whereas, people like John Wayne, like he was the hero, and that was pretty much it. Clint Eastwood came in, he was kind of the anti-hero. There were shades of gray there. But in this movie, I would say this is, at least of the ones that I've seen, this is the most heroic that Clint Eastwood has ever been as the character of Josie Wales. And he's a complete badass in this movie. Like he's got the two revolvers that he's shooting off and firing off. The whole like machine gun, Gatling gun like sequence is freaking awesome. Like that whole thing's spectacular. And also, I don't know if it's like an intentional nod or not, but I love how that kind of mimics what happens in A Fistful of Dollars, that whole scene on the beach where they're gunning everybody down. So I like that. But yeah, that's a badass sequence, but there's a lot of great like shootouts and like big action, like set piece moments. And this movie really is kind of an epic. Like it's a big sprawling Western, like Clint is traveling on land. So you have the big gorgeous, like, American scenery, American West, and the grass and the hills and all that stuff in the skyline. So it's a gorgeous looking movie, and the cinematography is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I really appreciated this movie a lot more this time around than I did before, and I think mostly because it's just a different side of Clint. I feel like a different shade of Clint, especially around this time. He still plays it the same, but he's a very different type of character in this movie compared to some of the other movies that he did around that time. And one thing I wanted to say that I forgot to talk about in my review, but one of the things I really appreciated about this movie is how it recontextualized your thoughts on like history and how things played out, and the fact that there are bad people on the side that you perceive as good, and there are good people on the side that you perceive as bad, because the Union Army, like we all think is good, right? Like they wanted slavery to end and all that. So that's a good thing, right? So we think of the Union Army as good and the Confederate Army as bad. But what this movie shows you is that there are bad people in the Union Army, and then there were good people in the Confederate Army. And that tells me look, even though the cause may be good on one side and may be evil on the other side, that there are still like good people and bad people on both sides. So I think that that's cool that those types of themes were being tackled all the way back in the 70s. The Outlaw Josie Wales is a complete banger. I freaking love this movie this time around. So the movie's great for sure, especially, if you haven't seen it. Maybe you want to know that. Now get into the 4K transfer, guys. The same as Dirty Harry, you got the native 4K and you've got HDR10, but you do not have Dolby Vision here. I'm not going to say it needed Dolby Vision, but also I feel like this one needed Dolby Vision maybe more than Dirty Harry did. And I haven't looked on Pale Rider. I'm assuming that does not have Dolby Vision as well. But yeah, because you're outside, I feel like there's just more of an opportunity to really showcase those colors with that HDR and that Dolby Vision, that wide, color range. I think it could have worked a little bit better with the Dolby Vision, but this is still a pretty spectacular transfer. I think it's a really good restoration by Warner Brothers, who's just knocking it out of the park at this point with these restorations, guys. I think this looks really great, with the open, like American West scenery and all that stuff just looks fantastic. But the up close shots, there's some incredible detail on Josie Wales himself. You got the outfits. Like there is just something about like a Western and the scenery and the setting of a Western that I just think lends itself so well to a great 4K restoration. There was a little bit of an issue that I had with this, and I don't even want to say it's a fault. It's a fault of the 4K. But I will say there are a lot of very dark scenes in this film, quite a few dark scenes. Some of them are intentionally dark, like they'll be in a cabin or something, and then there'll be a character you didn't know was in the room until he just walks out of the shadows. There's that kind of stuff, but also there's just a lot of stuff at night outside, and I was having trouble like making certain like things out. So I didn't love that, but that's just the nature of the HDR. It kind of darkens and dims things a little bit, but I did think overall there was some incredible clarity here. There was an incredible amount of depth. Everything felt, full of life, and just like you could reach out and just touch it. I could just reach out and touch the grizzled chin of the outlaw Josie Wales. So yeah, fantastic 4K, guys. I really enjoyed the 4K restoration here by Warner Brothers. Now, getting into the audio, guys. Again, we got a Dolby Atmos upgrade with this release. You got the Dolby True HD 7.1. You also got the old DTS HD Master Audio 2.0 as well. Thought the audio was fantastic. You got a lot of like real quiet moments in this, and a lot of creaking and leaves, people stepping on leaves and stuff. So all that stuff just sounded great, but also the big moments and the shootouts and the big Gatling gun sequence, all that stuff just sounds great with Adobe Atmos. Now I don't have the full setup. I do have a soundbar that kind of simulates that Atmos setup, and everything sounded great to me. All the gunfire was just reverberating off the walls. It felt like I was right there in the middle of that shootout. Maybe I wouldn't want to be right there in the middle of that shootout, but watching from the comfort of my own home, I enjoyed it with the Dolby Atmos. So yeah, sound-wise, guys, I thought everything sounded great. Getting into the unboxing, guys, you got a nice slipcover right here. I do think this is a better cover than Dirty Harry. I didn't hate the Dirty Harry cover, but I like this right here. You got Clint Eastwood, Josie Wales looking all stoic right there with the sky in the background. I think it looks good. I do think it looks good, and I think it perfectly encapsulates like what the movie is. So right there on the back, you got some other images. You got the special features, which we'll get into. You got the specs, all that good stuff. Take it out of the slipcover and show you the front, show you the back. And you got the casting list right there. Now, with Warner Brothers, guys, you don't get a Blu-ray. So I do not have a Blu-ray for the Outlaw Josie Wales. I cannot compare this to the Blu-ray because I don't have this movie on home video other than this 4K right here. But you just get the 4K, but you also get a digital code as well. So yeah, guys, I like the package. I like the artwork. The Steelbook's definitely better, but I think the slipcover is pretty cool as well. Now, getting into the special features, just like Dirty Harry, you have two brand new special features. So I gotta give it up to Warner Brothers again. I gotta give it up to them. Like, not all this, the studios don't do this, guys. This is pretty much like unheard of in this day and age. Like, some of the studios do it from time to time, but Warner Brothers is doing it like more and more now, and I appreciate it. I really do. But you got the commentary, the older commentary by Richard Schnickel. And then you also got 5 featurettes. And like I said, 2 of them are brand new. You got an outlaw and an anti-hero. So this is a group of people just talking about, like I just talked about in my review as well, just how Clint, wasn't really the anti-hero in this, but he kind of was at the same time, but he wasn't really. And there was some light shades of gray, but ultimately he was just a hero in this movie. So that was a really good feature. You also got the cinematography of an outlaw crafting Josie Wales, which is great. They talk about the cinematography. And like I said, this is a beautiful film. I haven't seen a Western this beautiful probably since The Searchers. And that's a real long spanning, Western as well, covering a lot of ground in the Old West. So yeah, great feature right there. Then you got Clint Eastwood's West. You got Eastwood in action. You got Hell Hath No Fury. The making of the Outlaw Josie Wales. I think that's about a 30-minute past archival making of. And then you got a documentary, Clint Eastwood, A Cinematic Legacy, Reinventing Westerns. Now, this one is kind of new, and it kind of reminded me of the same feature that was on Dirty Harry as well, but it was a smaller version of that. All the same people were included here, so I wonder if they just kind of cut interviews from that and put it here. Maybe these were new interviews that were cut from that and put here. Not exactly sure, but I'm pretty sure that was new as well and cut from that 2021 documentary that I talked about in the Dirty Harry review. But yeah, that's my closing thoughts on the movie, guys. Thank you all so much for watching this review. Great release. I think for 23 something, like, this is totally worth a pickup. I do, especially if you love Westerns, especially if you're a fan of the Outlaw Josie Whale. So thanks again, guys. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel, turn on bell notifications for all future videos. I will have this linked down below and the Steelbook linked down below in the description, as well as all my other links. Those will be down below in the description, and I'll see you next time.